Hi everyone. What to pack when you're climbing Kilimanjaro. This can be overwhelming, especially if you have not been on days long hike, have all the equipment and have all the clothing that you need. I personally found this overwhelming. So I wanted to do a quick video to give you an idea of what worked for me and what I think will help work for you, especially if you're going to take this on, which is fantastic. I had the trip of a lifetime. So let me get right into it to tell you what to start with. And the good news is, whatever company you hire, they are going to send you a packing list. So from there, you can get started. I'm going to tell you some things that make complete sense and some of the things that I thought were not mentioned that I would definitely recommend. So we're going to just start with the basic. You need a duffel bag. Everybody needs a duffel bag. I used this one from REI. I thought it was great. It's 90 liter. It did the job. I felt it was just the right size for me. You could have gone a little bigger because I didn't put my sleeping bag in this and my pad, because I actually rented that equipment from Thomson Safaris. So that was helpful to me, and I didn't have to bring that on the plane with me. So keep that in mind. If you are bringing your own sleeping bag and pad, if you want it, you might want to go a little bit bigger, but you have to keep this at 33 pounds. So that's what's very important when you are packing, to keep in mind that you cannot go above 33 pounds. So we started with the duffel bag. I got it from REI. I thought it was great. And one of the things that was suggested was this cover that slips right over your duffel bag. It was fantastic. I used this when I was traveling, put it in the airplane just to protect my duffel bag. And also it was used every day to protect my duffel bag from the rain, in addition to what the porters carried. So I felt like whatever happened, whether we were going to get in a rainstorm or snow or anything like that, what was inside my duffel bag was going to be covered. So start with these. These are the basics. You're going to have to get these if you don't already have them. And if you want, you can try to borrow them from somebody, but go to REI, try to find when they have their sales, because a lot of times they have good sales and you can get them when they're on sale. So then next we have to talk about our layers. And there's a lot of layers you have to think about, because you're going to be in 5 climate zones. At least we were, and we went from the Western approach of 9 days, and we started in the rainforest, and it was like 80 degrees. So again, we started with these, which again, they told you to get. I did get 3 pairs of these. 2 were my regular size, and of course I went with a larger size because you're going to have to put layers under these. So just remember that. Could I have gotten away with 2? Yes, probably, but we were there 9 days. On the front end, I was there for 2 days, and then the last day coming down, again, I wore these. They do tend to get dirty by that 9th day. I was so happy that I had 2 of my regular size that I could go back and forth with. And then the one, I only ever used this 1 day, maybe 2, as an outer layer. So the one that was a bigger size for me that I wouldn't normally wear, that I needed to have layers, I only wore this 1, maybe 2 days. So keep that in mind. Then of course you want to have your layers that are lighter, so they will recommend 2 to 3 of your shirts. I definitely went with Smartwool for everything because of sweating and trying not to smell. These were great. I also got these from REI, and I will put all of this in links at the bottom of the video. So if you want to try to get things from REI and also Amazon, I will try to put my links and everything for you. Okay, so those are our 2 base layers when you're in the warm weather. And then as we climbed and we got up in higher elevation, of course, it was getting colder. And one of the things that I really like, I'm trying to find it here, was my Athleta Rainier pants. These were great. I would highly recommend these. They're the Athleta Rainier Tight. I actually brought 2 of these with me and wore these several days. They were a great layer when it started to get chilly, but you didn't need to have anything more. So it was too chilly just for these hiking pants, but not hot enough for a second layer other than these. So if you're a woman and you like these, I would definitely try the Athleta Rainier, because I found them to be really good up until probably the day before we summited, I went with more layers, but this was excellent up until then. So I would take 2 of these, probably only 1, again, depending on how much weight you have, what else you're bringing. 1 would have been enough because I kind of wore this one over and over again, mostly because it was black and it was easy to go with everything. So that's something to keep in mind. Okay, so that was more what I would call a mid layer. Then we had our long sleeves. And again, I wore these. I took 2 of these plus an additional one. So I had these Smartwool. This is just a Smartwool. I think I purchased this at REI. I did borrow several clothes from a friend who was a skier, and she let me borrow a lot of things. So I don't have all the layers that I took with me, but I definitely took this. And I also wore the matching bottoms with these. This was mostly to sleep in because I found every evening it was really chilly, chillier than you think it's going to be. At least I felt that way. And that was one of the reasons why I was probably overpacked, because I was so worried about being cold. I definitely took more than I needed, which I will go into more at the end of this video. But just know that you definitely need to have something warm and comfortable to wear in the evening and at night when you're sleeping, because it gets really cold. Even if you have a great you know, a sleeping bag and an additional insert in it to keep you warm, you are going to get cold. Okay, so those are the layers I took. I thought these were excellent. I used them. I wouldn't take more than 3. You don't need more than 3. And also you need that extra space to have in your pack and for weight. Now, the one thing that I did take, I took 2 bras, and they again were Smartwool, and then I took, I don't know how many pairs of socks. The problem with socks is they take up a lot of space, but you do need them. So let me just show you. I didn't have all my socks with me. I did leave some of my socks there at the end for the porters. But again, ours all Smartwool, because a Smartwool that I wanted to wear while hiking, because I was especially concerned that I wanted to keep my feet warm, of course. So I had a lighter pair. This, I love this. These are called Walkie Light, W-A-L-K-I-E, I believe is what they're called, from Falke. I'm just telling you the name because these were excellent. This is a German company that my friend gave me a pair of these. They're really light and soft, and I really enjoy these. I wore these during the day when it wasn't cold. So the first couple days I wore these, and definitely coming down the mountain. And then when it got colder, I had my thicker layer Smartwool socks. My feet never got cold. Now, the day of summit, somebody suggested that you get these, I'm gonna bring these out here, these seal skin. I wore them in addition to a really light pair of socks that's supposed to help you not have blisters. So I think I had those on, this, and my feet did not get cold. That was plenty. In fact, I think I started out with an additional pair of socks, but it was too tight in my hiking boots. So definitely 3 was enough, especially if you have these. And I thought it kept my feet completely warm, which I was so grateful for, because between my fingers and my toes, that was my biggest concern about getting really cold feet and hands. And I did not. So definitely get a pair of these. I got these, I'm pretty sure, from Amazon, which I will put the link in. And all of these, again, were from REI. Except the ones I told you, the Super Light, which is a German company, which I'm sure you can get online, and I will put the link in there. So I also brought socks to wear at night. Different socks, because I feel like everything yourself included, your clothes, everything gets so dirty. You want to have something clean to put on, at least I did. So every night we got what we called washy-washy. You're going to get it's not a bucket, it's like a small bowl of water that you can wash off with when you finish the climb. And I did that every day just to I wanted to feel cleaner. I put on clean socks at night and only wore socks to wear to bed. These were not Smartwool. These were just some socks that I think these are from Colombia. My sister gave these to me for Christmas. I probably had 3 of these. A couple other socks. They take up a lot of space because they're so thick. So that's something you have to consider. But I did really enjoy having those clean socks at night to wear. And I did not wear them when I was hiking, because you'll find your socks get really dirty. So again, you're going to have to get used to it, but it's something to keep in mind when you're deciding what to pack and what's important to you. Okay, so we did socks. Let's talk about hats. I definitely had a sun hat. Don't normally wear a sun hat, but I wore this so much. It was great because you're going to want it to keep the sun off your face because you're going to be in a lot of sun. Hopefully it doesn't rain on you. And then I even wore this the day that we summited. I started with a beanie because I was so cold. But as the sun came up and the sun did come out and it was daytime hiking for us to the summit, I put this on after I took off numerous layers because I had way too many layers. And this is what I wore the whole time. So definitely have this. Some people wore a baseball cap, and that's fine too. You could do that, but I liked this. Especially, I found some people got, especially the men, you have to be really careful on your neck not to get sunburn. So this also helped cover my neck and face, which was awesome. The other thing we can talk about is I did have a beanie. I don't have it here with me, but definitely you want to have a beanie. I wore it at night just to keep me warm because I always was cold, so I was always putting layers on at night in my sleeping bag, wore my beanie at night, and there was definitely days when I wore it during the day, but you'll see in pictures I have in later videos that I'm going to share about each day of our trek. I only wore it a couple times, and usually in the morning because it would be, of course, chilly, but as the day wore on, it would get warmer, and I almost exclusively wore this, occasionally wore my baseball cap. So you don't need a ton of different things for your head. Probably those three are enough, except I'll go over summit day, which is different. Okay, so the other thing we talked about is outer layers. So I have to tell you, I overdid it with my layers, but I'm going to tell you what I mostly wore. This jacket was fantastic. It's just a light jacket. Again, I bought this from Athleta years ago. I wore this every day, probably except for when it was 80 degrees and I only wore the short sleeve shirt. But as we got up in elevation and it started to get chilly, this was perfect. Some days I wore one layer of the long sleeve and this, and then you'll see in the pictures I would take off this and just be in a long sleeve, and that was enough during the day. Then I also had, of course, rain gear, what they tell you to bring. I did have this some days because it's super light. That's all I needed to wear because this was enough. It was enough with one long sleeve on and this. And then, of course, if it rained, it did rain on us 2 times. So I did bring this out. So you definitely want to have a light rain jacket. And then on summit day, I had on this layer. I don't think I had on this layer. I had on 2 long sleeves. Then this another excellent buy from REI was their 800, I think they call it the 800. This was plenty. It looks super light, but it's really, really good. And then I had on a ski jacket on top. Way too many layers. Now, we started about 5 in the morning, so you're going to, of course, it was dark and it was cold, and that's when I had on my most layers. But once the sun came up and it really started to warm up, I started shedding those layers so fast. So by the time we were summiting, on top, I only had one long sleeve on and this, and one pair of gloves. So if you go with a company that you're going to summit during the day, if you're lucky and the sun's out, it's still going to be cold, but that sun really warms you up more than you realize. So that sun warmed us up, and I have to say, our guide, Gabrielle, told me I was overdoing it, but I was so worried about being cold that I still put on multiple layers. But by an hour after the sun came up, I had to ask him to stop so we could start taking off the layers. So just keep that in mind. You don't have to overdo it, especially if you're going to do a daytime summit. If you're going at night, that's completely different. You're going to probably want all the layers that they tell you to bring. But anyway, if you have this and this, that's going to be enough. I also had this outer layer, these ski pants, and then I had the ski jacket that went with this. But I borrowed that, so I gave it back. But I will tell you that a daytime, you will not need that extra jacket. This I used. It was helpful. I needed it. I felt comfortable once I had this on. Plus the Athleta like this. And I think that's all I had on except for the 3 pairs of socks that I already told you about on Summit Day. All right, so this was plenty. Make sure you bring this. This was also good if it rained because it is rain resistant. I had that. The rain jacket is very important. Now gloves. Again, I overdid it with gloves. I brought 3 pairs of, actually, I brought 3 pairs of gloves and then I rented the big pair of mittens. So again, overdid it. I would say if you have 2 pairs of gloves, I definitely wore these to keep my fingers warm. But I also got these from Amazon, which I liked because a lot of times I would just wear these. They had the holes in them because I didn't really need them, but if I got cold, I could easily go like this and still be able to use my poles and everything like that. So this made it a lot easier to go on and off. Same thing when I wanted to use my camera, I could take it on and off and use my camera pretty easily, although I have to say not having the thumb hole here was also a little bit of a pain. But don't overdo the gloves, even if you're really worried about fingers getting cold, which my fingers get cold really fast. Having 2 pairs of gloves and then definitely 1 outer layer glove for Summit Day is fine. Either bring your own or do like what I did, which is I rented. And I will go over what equipment I rented because I didn't have really heavy gloves, so I didn't bring those with me. I just rented them from the company, which was great. They all worked well. So that's the gloves. The day of, I also got one of these. Again, I think one other person actually wore this on Summit Day. It was helpful while it was really cold and still dark, but again, the minute the sun came up, this came down. I don't think I ever really took it off because it's so form-fitting. It's really hard to get on and then get back off, but I just brought it down around my neck, so it was more like just protecting my neck. So I would recommend this as a maybe, not necessary, but as long as you had something out around your neck that you could pull up over your nose and or mouth if you wanted to for dust or you're cold, that was perfect too, because I wore that when it was getting colder, not when it was hot, but I definitely had that around my neck. And a couple times it was kind of dusty, especially coming down on Summit Day. So it was very helpful to have that to put up over my nose, but I didn't really use it that much. But I slept with it because it kept my neck warm. And that's really important to have that around your neck at all times to kind of just keep you a little bit warmer. Because when your neck gets cold, especially if you don't have anything up around your neck besides that, it's important to have that. And I borrowed that. That's why I don't have it with me, but definitely take that. A couple other things that we want to talk about, of course, is your, let me go back to this. Let's go to having extra bags. Now, I had 2 extra bags because one, you want to have your hiking boots and you want to have some kind of camp shoes. And my camp shoes were these waterproof shoes that I could just slip right in really easy. And that's important that you have something easy that you can take on and off, because as soon as you get back from camp, you're going to take your gaiters off, which again, I rented those. Everybody has gaiters. They'll tell you to get gaiters, either bring them with you or rent them. They go up around like this and kind of just cover to protect you from getting even dirtier on your clothing, and they'll come up around a little bit around your hiking boots. So definitely have gaiters or bring them with you. And you take them off, you take your hiking boots off just to give your feet a little rest and go right into camp shoes. And that was really important to have something like that to come and change into. But again, everything gets dirty, especially your hiking boots. And when you come home, you can get your hiking boots clean, but to me, I just didn't want to put my boots or any shoes in with my clothes. Even though everything was dirty, I still didn't want to. So I brought 2 extra bags, and these are just from my hiking cubes that we get, but you can use anything. Something that you can put your dirty shoes in is really helpful when you're going day in and day out, especially the camp shoes. Put them in your bag and then put them back into your this, and then you can not get them mixed in with your clothes every day. So that was helpful. Make sure you bring these. And then the other thing, of course, they're going to tell you is make sure that you pack your clothes into some kind of waterproof bag. Now, what I did is I bought some black waterproof bags from Amazon. And I was actually told make sure that you label them. But I ran out of time and didn't label them. That was a big mistake because you have so many different bags of everything. So you would want to put everything, like maybe your socks in one bag, your underwear and bra in one bag, your short sleeves in one bag, because it's very important to compartmentalize everything so you're more organized when you're digging through and trying to find things day in and day out in your tent. So if you're going to use your bags, and here's one that I had, but I had smaller ones that were a different size that are black. You definitely want to put a label on them if they're not see-through, and none of mine were. Now, what my other fellow campers did is they just used gallon-sized bags, like freezer bags that you could see through. That, I think, was a smarter thing to do because it was easy to see, especially if you have good waterproofing like I had. I don't think the water is going to seep through there. A lot of times they'll tell you when it rains, you have to be really careful because you don't want to get any of your clothes wet during your trek because it is so hard for them to dry up on the mountain. And I was fearful of that. So that's why I was like, I need these dry bags. But I think that's overkill. You don't really need them. But if you are super cautious, I would definitely say take the time to label them and put some kind of label on them because it'll be so helpful when you're trying to keep everything organized in your tent and knowing what you want to grab and putting things back to kind of keep everything a lot more organized because you're in a very small tent, a very small area, and it's much easier to do that. And that's one of the things I said I would definitely do different. So just save the money if you want and get your gallon size freezer bags and put everything in those, and I think you'll be fine. If you are a little bit worried about the water situation, maybe getting things wet, take the time and get those dry bags because they are really great. Just make sure you label them. Okay, let's talk about your day pack. Everybody has to have a day pack. You have to be able to carry water. I had, so let me tell you what I did. I had a bladder. It's a 3-liter bladder. I put this in my 32-liter day pack that I use. This is again from REI. This was great for me. It worked well. I had this filled with 3 liters of water, except for the day of going up the mountain. A lot of times they'll tell you if you're doing a nighttime trek where you start out at night, the water could freeze, so you have to have Nalgene bottles. I did bring Nalgene bottles with me in addition to this because I was the same thing going up on summit day. I was worried they might freeze. That didn't happen to us because we again started at 5 in the morning and we're doing mostly a daytime summit. But this was awesome, and why I like this is because it was so easy to drink out of. I was suggested as a must because this did not come with my Camelback. I got a cover. Highly suggest if you don't have a cover, get a cover because of course it's dusty. You're putting your backpack down as you're hiking and this could fall down and get it in the dirt. You want to make sure that you always cover this, and I just got 2 of these right from, I think, Amazon. So it's easy to get this. I liked having this available so I could drink it anytime. It was a lot easier than reaching back and trying to open up my Nalgene bottle and drinking, but it's really a personal preference. And I would tell you to definitely try this out before you do your hike. So don't make sure this isn't the first time you've ever used this. See how it goes into your pack, etc. And see what it feels like to carry 3 liters of water. It's heavier than you think, and it's really important that you try that out and hike with it to get an idea what that feels like on your back when you're hiking for hours with water in your pack. Okay, some of the other things we used that I thought were great. I got this camera holder. Well, I'm calling it a camera holder. That's what I used it for. I used it for my phone. It was really my phone holder. But it was so easy to get in and out of when I was using this on the mountain. So it just has a thing like this. You can pull your phone right out, put it back in. It's really super convenient. I would highly recommend this, and I will put the link at the bottom of the video in the comment section to get this from Amazon. The other thing that, of course, that you're going to have to go to the bathroom while you're hiking, and you're going to go by the side of the mountain because there's nowhere else to go. So everything is take everything out. We leave nothing behind. So your company will tell you to bring stuff in and out. They told us to bring doggy bags and a roll of toilet paper. I did not do that. That was way too bulky. I took napkins, the small little tissue, small tissues. Put that in a pack with things to clean my hands and clean sanitizer. And I put it in this. And then I also used something that I will show you that women can use. We call it sheepy. I don't know really what you call it, but again, these are things that you should know about. Not easy to talk about, but you should have this. It's very convenient, much convenient for a woman to use this on the trail. I will put the link in, again, the comments. And then I just use this and attach it to the back here at a ring, and it would just kind of hang there. So it was always convenient if I ever needed it when we were hiking during the day. And another thing I like about this pack is they have these small, very convenient little things here. And definitely you always want to carry sunscreen because you're always putting sunscreen on. So I would have sunscreen in these pockets. I would have this for my lips because you need this constantly. Your lips get so dry. There's a couple days when we got at higher elevation, our guides would tell us to put Vaseline on. Sometimes we put it up in our nose because it got so dry. Definitely constantly put this on your lips. That's what I forgot. It's not that I forgot, I just didn't do it as often as I should have during summit day. And my lips, everybody's lips, were so dry the next day. I actually developed a blister on my bottom lip, which has never happened to me. It's very painful. So do not forget to bring Vaseline or something like the equivalent of Vaseline, something like that, and constantly putting on your lips to protect your lips from the sun and from the wind. And these were great. So again, this was a size small for me. This is a 32 liter. I would recommend this, but you can always go to one of the outdoor stores. I went to REI. They helped fit this for me. I wore it a lot leading up in my training, which I will go through more in my other videos about how to train to climb Kilimanjaro. And I wore this a lot with the water to feel like what this would feel like when I was trekking. I'm trying to remember a couple other, here's another thing I used. I actually got this mummy liner that was suggested to me. This can help with warmth, but also just to for cleanliness, like because I rented the sleeping bag, so you can do that. I felt very comfortable that it was clean, but I also just started out putting this in every night. I have to say probably by the third night I got tired of it. I put it away and I never used it again. But if you're a little bit worried or concerned about hygiene and you not bringing your own sleeping bag, you can purchase this from REI and use it. But I found it wasn't necessary after a while. It was just too much to have that. A lot of people said bring these moleskin. I did bring them. I only ever used them once. I really didn't have any trouble with blisters, but as a precaution, you could bring this. All my medication, I put in these packing cubes. So I had 2 packing cubes, one for any medication that I might need. So like they'll give you a packing list, but things that I didn't need on a regular basis wasn't my toiletries. It was all like just in case. So I would have things like Advil in there, Benadryl, Neosporin, things like that. I had a little first aid kit. I didn't have to use any of those things, but they were in a separate thing because I didn't want to have to bring it out every day if I didn't need it. And then I used a small packing cube like this for my toiletries, things that I knew I would need every day. And that worked well. I don't know what other people use. Some people might have just used, again, a gallon bag, but I used these packing cubes. I thought they were great. All of us took Dimox, which it did help us because 100% of us made it up and made it down. And we saw a lot of people that did not. So just keep that in mind. If you're thinking about using Dimox, I would take it because I think it helped all of us. I don't know if we would have made it without it. Who knows? Because we all used it, but it was definitely worthy of taking. I also, I'm trying to think. Malaria. I took malaria medicine just in case. Again, some people did, some people didn't. It's really up to you. And that's really the only medication I took with me. besides over-the-counter things in case I needed it. Like one time I had a backache, I took some Aleve, and I couldn't sleep. That's another thing you should really think about, because you think you're going to be able to sleep because you're so tired, but there's a lot of noise going on in the camp. People are right next to you in their tents. So I found it hard to sleep. So just keep that in mind. I definitely use my AirPods every night. I took a book because I would um, sleep before, I would read before going to sleep at night. Definitely you want to have, I actually had a small light lantern that had a hook on it that I could hook at the top of my tent, which was very helpful just because it gets dark. And then you can just put that on and you don't have to carry a headlamp. So I would definitely get a small lantern that you can just battery operated, that you can hang in your tent. That was very helpful. And then of course you have to have a headlamp, because at night, coming in and out, going in and out of your tent, you're going to need a headlamp. They also suggested bring extra batteries, which I did. And because again, it's so cold, you want to keep your batteries in your sleeping bag at night, which I did do that. I thought that was a great suggestion. And I think I changed out my batteries once, and I didn't have brand new batteries in that lantern. It worked fine. And then I brought extra batteries, but I definitely would keep that in mind. Have your batteries in separate bags, and then you can put them at your bottom of your sleeping bag every night to help keep them warm when it gets really cold. Another good thing that was suggested was getting a warm bottle of water every night to put in your sleeping bag. Excellent suggestion. We all did that by the second or third night. I think I did it the second night, and then by the third night, they were just automatically, as like said, if you want to get a warm water bottle, leave one of your Nalgene bottles with us, and we'll fill it up with hot water and give it to you. And it really, really helped you keep warm at night. So those are the main things. I think the one thing I didn't bring in here was my hiking boots, which I love. They're Alta. I got them at REI. They're super light. For me, I needed a wider toe box, which I've never had to use before, but now I do. And I have to say they're so light. I was a little bit worried about whether they would keep my feet warm, but the gentleman at REI said if you have the right socks, you're going to be fine. And he was completely right. And I have to say those were some great hiking boots. I still like them a lot, and I will show you a link to those in case you're really interested in those hiking boots, but they were excellent. So I think I have gone over everything about what you should bring with you. Just remember, don't overdo it. I know you're going to be worried a little bit, maybe possibly like me, about being cold, but just keep in mind, if you have a nighttime summit, that's a little bit different than what I did, and I think you might need the extra layers for that. Oh, don't forget your hand warmers. I used hand warmers as well, but not the day of the summit. I think I might have put them, but I ended up using them at our base camp because it was so cold at night. I did put toe warmers into my socks at night and into my gloves at night, because I was wearing gloves, I was wearing socks, I was wearing a bunch of layers that night because it was very cold at base camp. So again, if you tend to be like me and get cold, make sure you have hand warmers, make sure you have toe warmers, because even if you just don't need them during the day, it's nice to have them at night to keep you warm. That was also very important. Sunglasses, I didn't go over sunglasses. I had 2 pairs of sunglasses. So I wore just regular sunglasses before we got up at higher elevation. I felt like they were fine. And then I got polarized sunglasses to wear as we got up in that higher elevation. I thought they were fine. I think everybody kind of wore polarized sunglasses, and they were suggested, especially if you could have some wraparound ones just to protect you from the sun, which highly would recommend that. You might only need one. I just took 2. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I forgot. Probably, but that's all I can remember right now. I went just 3 weeks ago in January, and that's the dry season, but I will tell you 2 weeks prior to getting there, they said it rained the whole time. We were lucky. We only got rained on twice, but now I think you have to really consider that. So when you go to Kilimanjaro, you really never going to know completely what to expect with the weather, so you do have to be prepared for everything. I wish you all the best, and look for all my other videos about how to get ready, what you should do to train, and then I'll go day by day what we did each day. Thank you so much. Bye.